Hello everybody, and this is another Lunaris Aileron diary, and for this video I want to talk about Winter 2019 anime in a nutshell. For me, I'm not speaking on others' behalf, but I just want to talk in general about various animes that I watched this season. So this season is pretty okay, I guess, despite some disappointment here and there, and every season is like that. I really shouldn't be so pessimistic, or rather, I should be realistic that when you watch preview, it's always the best. Episode one is almost always the best quality with the best scenes and the best direction, because episode one is usually when people put much higher budget than normal episodes. You know, all that jazz. Anyways, I don't really want to talk too long, or rather, this is gonna be a long video. Don't want to pad this any further. Anyway, let's get right to it. Let's go for alphabetical order. So first we start with Bang Dream. Bang Dream is, from my first impression, I say it is really good with great music, and yes, it continues to be so. I love the characters, even though they are pretty generic, but for having so many characters, I think the writers did a very good job in showcasing each and one of them and how they interact with each other. Like I said in my previous video, like this kind of writing is very risky, because you might end up with lots of characters who is not properly developed, or rather they stay as a one-dimensional characters. But in this case, it's okay, because even their trophy characters, they are put in an environment where they interact with each other characters a lot, and then even though the characters are pretty, if you put them in a vacuum one by one, they are very simplistic and very one-dimensional. But in the concept of this anime as a whole, because how they interact with each other makes the whole anime pretty rich. But this is what I'm repeating what I said in my previous video. Maybe you guys should listen to it. But what I'm saying is that this continue to be really good. The music is really good. The music is really good. The band scene, the live scene is pretty exciting, and I really look forward for the live scene for every episode. And then towards the end, by now there should be only one episode one episode left. I haven't watched this week and last week episode yet, because I was busy. This past week I have been very busy. I have to attend a program at another hospital. I have to fly and then drive 100 kilometer, you know, lots of stuff. And then there's a rainstorm when I'm on the way back here. That's that's another story. But from where I stopped, it actually started to become more dramatic, and it was developed really well. I love it. It Even though it managed to stay this happy, upbeat and funny atmosphere, but it managed to, whenever there's a dramatic and important scene, they still managed to pull it. The writers managed to pull it with the music, the scene direction, and the characters' dialogue. It was well done. It might not be like the most awesome or most dramatic thing, or the most something that really is like, oh man, this scene is so awesome. Maybe it's not like that, but in the whole, I think this is a very solid anime. If you like a Band Dream season 1, you should definitely watch season 2. Alright, and next, Dead Alive. I mentioned in my first impression video, when I watched the first 4 and 5 episode, it was really good. And yes, I said it was. I still think it's really good. How the scene flow into each other is really fluid. This might be something that might be a little silly, or like maybe a little antithetical to most anime that I watch, or rather the opinion of what opinion people usually have. But you know, like how when when sometimes like an anime suddenly throws you a fan service episode or a beach episode, even though it doesn't feel like they deserve it because the characters are not developed, or the viewers has yet to invest in the characters emotionally or something like that, right? But in For That Late Alive, it's the reverse. I actually miss. Rather, I want to have some kind of relaxing beach episode or something, because how this is something that even started from season one. This is the reason why I even watched Dead Alive season 1 and 2, because how the writers continuously uh, continuously flow one story arc to another, and really, how should I say this, like it's very, the story does not stop. It continues from when one story stops, it immediately continue to another without very little breathing space in between. And it's the same as season 3. When the Natsumi's arc is over, it suddenly goes to another serious story, and then goes to another serious story. And then currently, I haven't watched yesterday's episode yet, only last week. And then currently, there's this Origami's story, which also involve Kurumi, and to some extent involve Kotori's past. And it's actually the story is, there's a lot of story to tell, and moves fast, but at the same time, there is not enough time to tell all the story, and which means that there is there's no breathing space in between the important plot. Yeah, so I argue that I wish there is a beach episode, a hot spring episode, onset episode, or something like that, in between, an episode to relax. It's kind of silly because, as I said, it's usually I hated that when there is an undeserved beach episode. Something like, I remember there is a very bad beach episode for, what was the anime? Sansha Sanyo. Even though I really like Sansha Sanyo, I really like it. The humor is very old school, but the art style, even though the art style from the manga is pretty old school, but it was modernized, and I think it's pretty good. It is solid slice of life comedy, but it has one really bad episode. The beach episode feels really bad. It feels so fast. It feels so unnatural and doesn't deserve it. Even my friend who has probably don't mind, are not as critical as I do, feels like it is a very bad moment, even though he also enjoyed the series as a whole. Okay, enough about that. Another thing I want to talk about Dead Alive season 3 is that the middle episodes are pretty bad. Not as in the story, but I can see that there is definitely a quality dip in those episodes. I mean, around episode 5, 6, 7, something like that. The budget is definitely lowered. I can see action scenes between they have to compromise a lot, and then the art style can be the art quality can be a little fluctuating. But it was a little uncomfortable when I'm watching those episodes. But the later episodes, when the protagonist went back in time, and then Kurumi is involved, the story actually gets pretty exciting, and then I felt good, really good watching it again. So basically, Dead Alive season 3 has a great start, a pretty annoying art quality, equality in overall dip in the middle, and then it picks up again. If you so basically, if you like Dead Alive, continue watching it. It's worth it. I think the current story is really exciting. So the next is Domestic Nakanojo. I think I have explained most of my thought in my previous video, and I really like it. Some people say, I can understand if people hate it. No, I mean story wise, the quality is pretty bad because it is full of cheap animation, you know, people just talking slowly, and then there is very little movement. It's obviously a very cheap production. It is Dio Media studio in the first place. Dio Media, I don't think Dio Media done any particularly good anime beside Kantai Collection, but the quality is pretty bad and pretty slow. It's not Kuzuno Honkai. Kuzuno Honkai, even if it is slow, but it compensates the slowness by having great colors and great individual scenes that is very pleasing to look aesthetically. But you shouldn't really judge Kuzuno Honkai and Domestic Nekanojo side by side, because they are very different. Kuzuno Honkai is a more dramatic, edgy, and more teenage angsty kind of anime, of a romance drama anime. But Domestic Nakanojo is more like realistic, more like down to earth. Yes, down to earth is something like I would say. Even though the characters has not really typical problem. I've seen some comments here and there. I understand it that people think that the protagonist is annoying or protagonist is passive, but I think that there are most of the characters are realistically written based on their circumstances. The protagonist is kind of a wimpy loser, you know. He is a nerd. He wants to be a novelist, and then he has a crush on his teacher, and then made worse by that the teacher is also kind of a bad adult, you know. She is irresponsible. She really pulls the string for too long, and which why the drama even happened. I don't feel like this is Domestic Nakajo, and at least the anime. I don't know what happened in the manga. People say in the manga the protagonist apparently banged lots of the other female characters, but I don't care. I'm just talking about the anime. I'm just saying that for the anime, the drama feels more organic than compared to various other romance drama I have seen. Like if you watch many other shoujo romance drama, you can see that lots of time they feel very very. Some of the drama happens just for the sake of the drama. It is very annoying. That's why I don't have much experience in finishing this kind of genre, because usually I'm very turned off when that happens. So how long have I been talking? 12 minutes is okay. Wow, I really, even though I have done lots of videos like this, I still have trouble talking for so long. Even though I can do presentation just fine, I do presentation all the time in college and in hospital. Sometimes I give presentation to other nurses and doctors and pharmacists. I can talk just fine. Maybe there is a difference in pacing. This is something that I'm really training for. I should really be training for. Anyways, next is Egao no Daika. Oh my god, Egao no Daika. No, don't bother watching this. This is like the most incompetent anime ever. The writers, it is clearly that there are multiple writers working on this, and each and every one of them have different visions on what the main theme of this anime, on how the direction it should be, on the how the feelings and atmosphere of the anime. It is an utter failure in trying to convince the watchers, the viewers, of anything. It fails in everything. The characters. I said in my old video, previous video, that I want to make a dedicated anime in this. I have stopped watching this anime like 3 episodes ago. Even like in my Discord, my friend and I watched this, and then we laugh and roast this anime like every week. We roast this anime so hard, but for some, I guess he stopped watching it last week episode, because it got so bad. I didn't reach as far as him, but if even he stopped watching it, it must be really bad. And we both of us already thought that this is very bad from the get go. Yeah, like imagine this. I remember I spent like 1 hour because when in my Discord I usually watch and then I simultaneously give comment. I post screen cap and then I comment what's wrong about this scene. So I spent like 1 hour to dissect a 20 minutes anime. Imagine that. It's so bad. Like this is supposed to be, if I recall, I read the wiki or something. It is supposed to be like some kind of anniversary project, but there is really no vision here. It's like everybody mishmash their ideas in attempt to make some kind of serious anime with some kind of messages, some kind of like gritty, edgy and gritty stuff. But they don't. The writers never truly commit to an idea. Never truly commit to an idea. When whatever idea they have, and then when every single scenes, the how they present the scenes are so bad, so unconvincing. So like I can see the potential, but this is like the most egregious case of something with potential, but during execution it utterly fails. This is another argument I have, that just because you have a good idea, so what? Everybody have a good idea. You can put a bunch of brainless branded writers to brainstorm and pitch in various ideas to put in an anime, and then just utterly fails in executing them, making a very miserable story, very miserable anime that just has no focus, and then just fails to pull in, fails to convince the viewer. I think it's the quality of the art is also pretty bad. The I hated the design style in the first place, but then it's clear from the like even after episode 4 and 5, it's clear that they don't have enough animators, they don't have enough money to pay for more artists. That the art quality deteriorates pretty fast. I have lots of screenshot of very very terrible arts in this anime. Then next we go for Andro. Next week is the final episode, and I just watched today's episode. It's still great. It's still a solid. It's very solid comedy, and it has also great music. Great music, you know, and it balances the characters pretty well. Every characters has their own time to shine. There is like a bunch of episode that is so, but there are many, more good episodes than there are so episodes, and I think that's only like one episode that I don't like. And the humor is pretty spot on, and then funny and cute, and still I like how they draw the characters' expression, and if, and then there's actual bunch of character development here and there, you know. It's something that this is, I want to say that Andro is something that I want there to be more of, you know. It's not necessarily original, but it's not really a cookie cutter anime, you know. Like nowadays, if you think about, if I say comedy, it's either very gimmicky like Kaguya Sama, or something like very safe and very cookie cutter, you know, like typical moe slice of life that is not particularly good, you know. That is very safe. But Andro feels like a more true blue comedy, but not an absurdist, over the top kind of comedy like Psyche or Danshi Kokose, or maybe even something like Defrag. That's I would argue that, and the type of comedy that Andro is, that there is not many anime of that flavor, and I really want something like Andro more, something that does not play safe, does not play too safe, but at the same time does not try to use very gimmick, you know. let's segue this to Kaguya-sama. I said that in my previous video is Kaguya-sama is just a solid all around comedy for everyone, and I still stand by it. I think Kaguya-sama is the nature of the comedy and the art style and the style of presentation is something like everybody can just drop by and watch it. They wouldn't be so conflicted to watching it, unlike trying to watch Andro, because Andro has this more cutesy style, you know. Kaguya-sama is more shonen style. But I stopped watching Kaguya-sama around episode 6 or something because I don't feel like I'm missing anything and I don't feel like I want to watch more. It's not exactly stale, but it's not exactly pulling me in, you know. That's why I say this is I mean, like, the comedy is okay, but I don't have enough time. I don't just watch comedy for just comedy. If I watch comedy, I also want have to have a bunch of other stuff that also appeals to me. Maybe like music, maybe art style, maybe character development. Like Andro has art style that I like. It has pretty colors and a great facial expression. It has something that I like plus comedy. That's why I'm still watching Andro. It also has this RPG mystery element, adventure. It has actual adventures. That's also why I like Andro. But Kaguya-sama is mostly like a gimmicky high school romance comedy. It doesn't have enough to appeal to me, but I still think that it is just it is a really overall solid comedy for everyone. It has very wide appeal. That's why Kaguya-sama is also become very mimetic. Even though I hate mimetic culture in anime usually. Like if you are not watching much anime and if you have lots of time, you should definitely watch Kaguya-sama. I don't. I barely have time to watch anime nowadays. I have works and I want to actually play games, you know. So I start watching Kaguya-sama like around episode 5 and 6. So let's for the next one, Girly Air Force. Girly Air Force is still very solid. I love it. I still like it. It has the characters are actually pretty good. The protagonist is not just your mindless bumbling harem protagonist, you know. They are not really in the harem, you know. Even just the heroine, like the only one that really feels like a love interest. Phantom is a serious character. Is it's an important character in the story, but it's not like I don't think like she's a love interest. And Eagle is just for eye candy. I'm a little disappointed that Eagle, the blonde, it continues being the dumb blonde, but there's really not that much opportunity for her to shine. I can see that because there's actual story going on and there's very little time and I haven't watched this week's episode yet because I've been busy. Maybe I'm gonna wait until the end and then watch 2 episodes at once and then finish it. So Girly Air Force is something that I really recommend to watch if you like military stuff. If you find the first few episodes pretty good, I think you will enjoy the rest of the season. Next, I want to talk something that I'm really excited about. Koya no Kotobuki Hikotai. This anime is really good. Every week, every episode does not fail to impress me. I really deeply enjoy every episode. It has the combination of great dialogues and banters between the characters, which the dialogues are very effective in fleshing out the character's personality and their relationship with each other. Even though you can argue that most of them are pretty one-dimensional, but as I said, it's okay to be one-dimensional as long as you put the characters among each other and make them interact. As in, don't leave the characters in vacuum. This is the case for Koya no Kotobuki Hikotai. The characters are pretty simplistic, but how they interact with each other and their actions define their characters. They don't just talk, they do. they don't show, you know? To say, what am I saying? They show, they don't tell. Something like that, you know? Show, don't tell. The writing rule, yada yada. What do you call that? Every episode, there are solid dialogues. People usually don't comment about dialogues, but I really love it when the acting and the dialogues are flow pretty well between one scene to another, and then how the dialogues complement showcases the character's personality. And then with everything of that is pretty good on itself. And then we go to the action. The action is pretty intense. I love it. The directors of the action really know their stuff, and it is very pulse pounding. It is very, every episode, it is very exciting to watch. I really recommend it. In my Discord, I mentioned that every week I will say that this week's episode is also solid, and that is the truth. That I don't think there is a bad episode for this series. If the only thing you should I will beg you to ignore is the wonky visual. As I said, they use the combination of 3D model and traditional drawing. And I know people will rag on this. If I show this, people will rag on this. And give it a chance. I think it will be, you will enjoy it in one of the element or the other. Talking about 3D CG, I think people hated it. They get a little too much hate than they deserve. People think that because more studios are making 3D CG anime or hybrid 3D CG anime, the traditional anime is gonna be affected in some way. But I don't think like that. What I think is that 3D CG allow for, when you make 3D CG, it does not mean that you also miss a good 2D anime die in the process. No, but rather a 3D CG anime will replace a bad 2D anime. You understand? Something like that. Basically, if like in Koyano Kotabaki Hikotai, it is pretty obvious that the 3D model is not like the highest quality. It's not Monster Strike, or it's not Monster Strike. Monster Strike has a really good 3D model, very smooth. If you think they try to draw all these characters in 2D, do you think it will be good? Will be mediocre? You are, instead of you are not sacrificing a beautiful 2D anime in favor of a bad 3D CG models, but rather you are replacing what could have been really bad traditionally drawn anime with something that at least preserve the detail of the characters. Like the good thing about 3D CG models is that they preserve the details. Like imagine Aikatsu models, if you have to draw all the details of their idol outfit, it's nightmare. But by using 3D CG models, they preserve the details. That's one good thing. Like in this, I mentioned about Pastel Memories. Pastel Memories has really crap art. That is the thing that is the 3D CG anime is replacing. Like in Pastel Memories, the characters turn into this like steampunky design when they are fighting the monsters. It's so bad. It's because they have so many details. They have this gear, and they have this leather and stuff, on their, when they transform into these steampunk warriors. Drawing them are such a these details on these characters are such a chore that they cannot be expected to draw all the detail, much less on a small budget. If these characters are replaced by 3D CG models, at least the details are preserved. You can see that at least the sword look good in every angle. The weapons and the the weapons and the details of the outfit are preserved. That's what the 3D CG are replacing. 3D CG anime is not replacing beautifully drawn 2D anime. They are most of the time they are experimental or have a certain artistic style the people there want to achieve, or they are replacing the bad ones. Like like this anime also, Fight League Gear Gadget Generators. It is a X-Flag anime. It's the same vein of Monster Strike. I don't know the details, but I think there's a same company or something. During the fight scenes, they use the 3D CG model to fight, and then in other scene they draw them traditionally. And this guy's design has lots of details on it. They have this gear, this equipment, this armor and stuff. I can see that drawing these characters and this detail with traditionally will be very annoying, very tiring to draw all these details. So when they switch to the 3D CG models, when there is lots of movement, there is lots of action, and it worked to some extent. And that's why I said the 3D CG models are not replacing the good one, the good 2D drawing. They are replacing a situation where drawing traditionally will be very intensive and expensive. You get it? Wow, it's already 30 minutes. I'm tired. Let's go. It's not like anybody's listening. I'm just doing this for my diary. Maybe if in 3 years or something, if someone for some reason you are listening to this in the future, 2 to 3 years later, please don't please don't be so harsh on me. Anyways, next is Wataten. Wataten is a loli. It's a very niche anime, but if you like lolis, it's really good. I didn't watch this week's episode and last week, I think. Yeah, I watched the last week, but I feel like I don't think this is much to my cup of tea. But I think if you like lolis in general, you will really enjoy this. If you like lolis and slice of life and comedy, you will enjoy it. I'm not losing much. I'm not watching it anymore. I feel like but credits where the credits do. The art is very consistent. Like last week episode has a very good music. The comedy is okay, I guess. I can see if people hated it. I can see if people really like it. I'm not very fond of it. I mean, like it is okay, just okay for me. So finally, the next anime is Wise. Wise. It is a sequel to Handshakers. And you know what? I actually personally really like Handshakers. It's bad. It's really bad. The art it is something one of those things that I know is really bad, and I acknowledge that it's bad, but I really enjoyed it personally. I enjoyed the art style, the color, the ridiculous concept. I personally enjoyed the art style. It feels like very avant-garde, you know. It reminds me of something like Mawaru Penguin Drum, or something like Punchline or Yurikuma, or even something like what was the anime? I forgot, but something that I watch mostly for the sake of the visuals, you know. I think it's good that if you are exposed to as many as different kind of art style in anime as possible, because yes, I think like art is something like you should try to vary. Don't just watch the same thing. Try to branch out. Don't be scared, and at least try to appreciate one element if you don't like the other. Yeah, why is also pretty bad. The dialogues are very sluggish. The story is really slow. the For every like 15 minutes of talking, there's like 2 to 3 minutes of actions, and then it's just everything's just so silly. But I still watch it because I think Wise is not as bad. It's not as good as Handshakers, but at least it continues the story, and I personally really want to see how it ends. It still was what I think it still was while to be exposed to the art style, how they play the colors and how they play the lighting. It is both Handshaker and Wise is like a more extreme version of Project K. Oh, Project K! I forgot. Project K has a bunch of movies, like 6 episode movies that I should watch soon. Oh my god, I don't have enough time. I just bought Atelier a new Atelier game and I'm very busy. Anyways, even though it's bad, I'm still watching Waizu. Man, I think I look like so much like a hipster, you know. I disagree. I'm not really a hipster, just because I enjoy things that people usually don't, and I don't like some of the mainstream stuff. But I don't think I'm a hipster. Anyways, it's already 30 minutes, and for the next season, maybe I should make a video about what I think about next season, what I'm looking forward to. But I feel like next season is not as it's not as I feel like the next season is not too explosive. Like there is I think something I want to watch here and there, but it's not as much as like previous season. But for summer, there's a lot I want to watch this summer. Anyways, I've thought about what time is it now? 36 minutes, 37 minutes, whatever. Anyways, if you are still listening, what are you doing here? Don't you have any life? Anyways, good night.